So we are recording this session, and you can find all the R&R sessions on our YouTube channel, Ascension Wisconsin EAP. So let's get started. Um, got a couple of things that I wanted to share with you today about breath. And have you ever realized how we have a tendency to take breath for granted? There's different times where we are reminded how important breath is, or when we take it for granted, just like when we injure ourselves and we don't have use of that finger or hand or limb. And oh my gosh, it just slows us down. And we certainly experienced had some different experiences with breath during COVID, right? Just all of a sudden, our breathing became dangerous to other people, and we had to mask and get used to wearing a mask. Some people are in professions where that's just part of their reality. Firefighters, surgeons, and medical staff assisting in surgery, miners. I mean, we could go on and on about all the ways that people have to really protect their oxygen and their inhale, right? And the ability to exhale. And then for fun, we get that experience if you've ever had the opportunity to scuba dive or snorkel. And all of a sudden, we have to really focus in a way that we haven't had to focus before, or be intentional. In yoga, we're intentional with the breath throughout the practice, and there's a beautiful cascade of benefits that come from being intentional with our breath, where we don't have to wear snorkel masks or a mask of any kind to be intentional. So I invite you into this time of reflection, to think about what are all the ways that your breath benefits you. You might think back to the moment that you took your very first breath, like to really realize there was a moment where our little bodies took in its first breath of air, and to think about the honor if we've had that opportunity to watch a baby take its first breath. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but it was interesting with my son's birth and my daughter. My son, regular birth in the delivery room. Uh, I had a lot of back labor, and so I decided with my second to have a water birth at the hospital in the tub. They had like a huge tub here at Mercy for it. It was beautiful. And it was so different, watching my daughter float as we untangled her from the umbilical cord. And then they laid her in my lap and instructed me to just really gradually raise my knees until she came through the water. And that whole time she was breathing through the umbilical cord underwater. She didn't need the oxygen. But the minute I brought her out of the water, she had that opportunity to take her first breath, and it was just so peaceful. It was incredible. And so thinking back to that moment where your breath was really, your body was adjusting to the breath, the lungs were learning to expand with the breath. And then from that moment, it became an automatic process within your respiratory system, something that you didn't need to think about ever again, right? And the breath is so unique out of all the automatic systems, where it's both automatic, but we can also control it. And what happens when we start to be intentional with the breath, to slow it down, to deepen it, to lengthen it, right? What do you notice within your body when I just mention that process? What happens to your heart rate? What happens to your thoughts? maybe to muscle tension? Have you had the experience of noticing a transition there? Well, if you haven't, we're gonna get into it now. Okay, so hopefully you have some of those ideas of times where you've realized you needed to breathe and be intentional with your breath. And I hope that that comes into your day more and more. That maybe you have 10 to 20 experiences of, oh, where's my breath? Okay. You cannot do it too many times. So let's get to the next slide. And so here's some other benefits that come with the breath. And I invite you to find the different words, but as you're neutrally gazing at this screen, looking at the different words, notice the weight of your body gently sinking into the chair. Where can you release any holding that you're doing, gripping? And how can you release and relax a little bit deeper? And as we do that, maybe the belly softens, the hips soften, the jaw, the area around your throat, the sides, the front of the neck. Maybe thinking about softening and opening the area around your heart center, the ribs. And bring your awareness to the ribs expanding out to the sides. If you're leaning against your chair, you'll even feel that pressure on your back as the back ribs expand into the chair behind you. You might notice if you're wearing pants or something constricting around the waistline, you'll notice that constriction as the belly expands. And this is a really important point, that diaphragmatic breathing, the way we are designed to breathe, is with the belly expanding, the side ribs expanding. And then on the exhale, it constricts. The belly hugs in. The diaphragm is pushing up the lungs into this bony cage to expel the air. It's beneficial to breathe in and out of the nostrils. But if you are struggling with allergies or a cold or any constriction there, through the mouth is okay. But we do release some powerful chemicals, nitric oxide, which is part of laughing gas when we breathe through the nose. It just immediately starts to relax us and doesn't dry out the throat. So feel free to keep gazing at the screen, or if you're feeling like you're at a point of relaxation, go ahead and close your eyes. Note the safety of the space around you, the security. Notice the breath as it deepens, and start to bring awareness to the benefits of your breath. Your heart rate, your thoughts, tension in the body. You might add a counted breath here. So when you come to the next inhale, you might start on a 4-count breath. And when it's time to exhale, you bring in that same count. And based on that experience, adjust the count to what fits you. If 4 felt too short, then lengthen it. If 4 felt way too long, then go to 3 maybe. But with each breath cycle, see if you can add a count. You might see if on the exhale you can lengthen it a little bit more and maybe add on 1 or 2 counts longer than on the inhale. This way, we're really pressing that breath out, expelling all of it. And on your next breath cycle, when you exhale out, come into a sigh, just ah. Another breath cycle with a sigh out on the exhale. And notice the benefits here of just sighing out, releasing a little bit deeper. Notice the back of the neck. Let it soften. The back of the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the heaviness of the sits bones, and the full support of the chair or wherever you're sitting, and the full support of the floor under your feet. And maybe imagine the crown of the head opening, and you're bringing the breath in through the crown of the head, and let it travel down through the skull, the neck, the torso, down through the hips and the pelvis, the legs, the lower legs and ankles, and down through the feet. And you can experiment with what feels best. If it feels better to inhale through the feet, up through the crown of the head, and then exhale down. Sometimes it can feel really good to inhale from the crown of the head down to the feet, and then exhale. Different ways of grounding. Very good. So from here, let's start to wiggle the fingers and the toes and wake up the body. And we can let the breath go into that automatic mode. We don't need to exhaust ourselves because it can be exhausting. It's something you build up to when you are sustaining it, like for a mindfulness or meditation practice. But the idea is that when you're doing an extended practice, you're just observing it, and it's smooth and deep on its own. It's not like you have to bring in this effort to really extend it. We just do that to help us drop into this a little bit faster. And doing the method I just taught you is like a micro dose, which is great to do throughout the day. But if you are going to set up a practice of 10, 15, 30 minutes, you would just let it be effortless, okay, like we're going to do now for our chair sequence. So I'm going to move us through some big movements at first, and then we're going to come to these micro movements, but the breath is still going to be noticeable. Okay, and let's see what that does for you. So let's scoot back, and I'm going to scoot back, and I'm also going to stop sharing my screen here so that you all can see me a little bit more fully. And hug your right knee into the chest if that's available. So you can't really see what my legs are doing right now, but I've got my arms wrapped around my shin. If your arms aren't quite long enough, you can go ahead and hug behind the thigh. And you can stay here, okay? Or, and this is going to be challenging because I've got a wheelie chair. It's not the most stable. So I'm going to put my elbows on my armrests, and that's going to help me stabilize. I'm going to exhale, and go ahead and join me, hugging the navel center in and crunch. Bring that forehead towards the knee. And when you're ready to inhale, come up. And that's another important aspect, is to let your breath initiate the movement. So on your next exhale, you're going to hug that lower abdomen in, carve out the navel center as you crunch forward. Tuck that chin in. You might experiment with flexing the right foot. And then when you're ready to come up, come up. If you'd like to add a little bit more to it, feel free to continue with those crunches. If you'd like to add more, on the inhale, we're going to lengthen the leg out in front, the arms come up, and exhale, we're going to hug the knee in again, sweep the arms around the leg and come into that crunch. Let's do that 3 more times. Your variation of a crunch, and let that breath be deep. Maybe constrict the bottom of the throat to create that Darth Vader or ocean sound. We call it ujjayi breath, and it's very warming. So a little hint, there's ways that breath can warm us with ujjayi breath, for instance. And I'm doing a couple more, so let's add in one more. We can also cool our bodies with our breath, and I will teach you that in a moment. Bring that right foot down beneath the left and just kind of wiggle the hips and close the eyes. Notice the benefits of those movements in concert with your breath. Good. Now bring that right foot to press on the floor, hug the left knee in the same way you did on the other side. So either the thigh around the shin, you might brace yourself with your elbows. Take a nice deep breath in and lengthen up through the spine. On your exhale, hug that navel center in and curl the chin tucks, forehead towards that knee. When you're ready to inhale, come out and lengthen, maybe imagining lengthening through the front of the spine. Exhale, and we curl. You can keep with this movement or lengthen the leg, reach the arms up. Exhale, hug it in, sweep it in. Let it go deeper. A couple more times here, moving with your breath. Good. Find that flow. Maybe close the eyes and go inward. Beautiful. And bring it down. The left leg foot meets the right. And we breathe. We enjoy and notice the benefits of those movements and the breath. Reach the arms up, wiggle the fingers. Exhale and bend the right elbow, side bend over to the right. Press through the left sits bone so that the hip doesn't pop up. Inhale, come up. And we're going to move with the breath. Exhale, side bend to the left. Push down through that right hip. When you're ready to inhale, come up. Exhale over. On your inhale, reach up. Hug that navel center in. Really notice those lower abdominals. Exhale over to the left. Good. One more time, reaching up. Let the hands float down to your sides. Bring one hand on the heart center and one on the lower belly. Notice the heart rate. It's going to be faster. Notice the lower abdomen. And you might notice that the lower abdomen isn't moving as much, especially when we're engaging our root lock, the area around the perineum to give us that stability. When we're anchoring through our sits bones, and then our spine has this strength to really hold us upright. I'm reminded of the benefits of breath and of posture when I worked in a gerontology program, and just how constricted we can become with our breath as our spine degenerates and we curve, right? It's hard for the diaphragm to be able to expand and do its work. So this is why these daily practices are so crucial, that physical activity, just for the sake of our spine. Now bring the hand that was on the lower belly, bring it right under the sternum, where you can, maybe your heel of your hand and your fingers are on the bottom ribs, but your knuckles are in that soft spot. Notice the expansion there. This is where we want the expansion on the breath. We don't really want it in the shoulders. It's down here in the lower ribs. Good. Bring your hands down to your lap, and we're going to drop the right ear over to the right shoulder on the exhale. Inhale upright. And on your exhale, lull the head over to the left. And this doesn't have to be anything with effort. We're just gently rocking. And like I said, it's kind of lulling, relaxing, soothing. Move with the flow of your breath. And bringing the head back to center. Bring awareness of the breath to the nostrils, the base of the nostrils. You could even bring your finger here to touch and breathe so you get a sense of what it's like with your eyes closed. Exhaling out. Good. And now we're going to work a little bit deeper with the nervous system. That's the incredible part about our breath, too, is how it's so directly linked to our parasympathetic system, that rested aspect, the vagus nerve. And one way in yoga that we do it is with alternate nostril breathing, because the right nostril correlates with the active, the sympathetic side, and the left nostril correlates with the parasympathetic. And in Eastern tradition, there's this wisdom that the nervous system, it like snakes up our spine, and so we have that access. So you'll notice sometimes that one nostril is more open than the other, and it switches typically around every 90 minutes. So we come into a hand position. In Sanskrit, this is called mudra, and you bring your pointer finger and middle finger into the palm, and then you're using your thumb and your ring finger. And the ring finger can come to the outside of that left nostril. The right nostril uses the thumb. And we're going to breathe up and down through that right nostril. So go ahead and bring the ring finger to close off the left nostril. And on your in breath, breathe in. We'll do 3 breaths here. Let your breath be long and deep. You're bringing in the effort. One more. And after your last exhale there, close off the right nostril and inhale through the left. And exhale left, and do this 2 more times. One more breath cycle. Good, and release the hand to your lap. Now take a full breath in through both nostrils. And a deep exhale out through the nostrils. One more time, inhaling. And this time as we exhale, exhale out through the mouth and fold forward. Just drape the torso over your thighs. Your feet are still on the floor. You're going to feel a constriction in the breath so that the breath is more exaggerated in the back of the ribs here. The nervous system loves forward folds. If you are ever in a stressful situation and trying to transition out, you want to go a little bit deeper than the grounding and the deep breathing, coming into a forward fold it works wonders. You could bring your hands to either rest on your legs, the lower legs, the tops of the feet, or the floor. You can also, if that's too much and it constricts your breath too much, you can bring your hands onto your desk in front of you and rest your forehead. So maybe either having the arms stacked or the hands stacked. And we're actually all going to meet in crocodile pose at our desks. So go ahead and come up if you're in that forward fold, and find a position for your arms that feel good on the forehead so that you can really let that forehead rest and feel the softness. Sometimes I'll put it on my hands, like the soft part of my thumbs, like that, and just soak it in. You might stretch one leg out And then bring it in and stretch the opposite leg out and bring it in. And I encourage you to meet yourself in a place of gratitude here. Gratitude for the breath. Gratitude that you're learning to be intentional with your breath. And that you'll start to reap all the beautiful benefits of your breath practice. And so you can either stay here if you are enjoying that, or you can start to gently open your eyes. And I'll close us out with a poem by Nina Hayen. It's called Breathe. And she writes, inhale deeply, fill your lungs with joy, let your body expand and grow roots deep into the earth. Let your soul widen and stretch into the sky and beyond. Let your mind drift away to glimpse the realm unnamed. Breathe in the life that nourishes and sustains you. Then let it go, gently joining the rise and fall of the universe. Recognizing that so many beings on this planet, plants and animals alike, are experiencing these chemical processes of bringing in oxygen or carbon dioxide and then breathing it out. And we're in this beautiful symbiotic relationship with our planet, with each other. And grateful that our breath is not as dangerous as it used to be to each other. That we can be near each other and we don't have to mask as often. And that we only, find those constrictions when it's necessary. But it makes us be grateful for the breath when we don't need those restrictions. So I'm very grateful to each of you for joining this month. Of course, if you haven't guessed already, the keyword for today was breath, and you can share that if you're collecting wellness points. I've got in the bottom right-hand corner the contact information for us. So either by phone, email, our YouTube channel is Ascension Wisconsin EAP, and you can find our previous recordings there. And hopefully this recording worked well, that we can post it. And again, my name is Shelly, and I've got wonderful colleagues at EAP, and we are here to serve you with confidential and free counseling, as well as consultation and referral. So we hope you can join us next month for the June R&R. It's always the first Wednesday from noon to 12:30. And with that,